finals of Stream B here at MWI 2025. Will their reign of terror continue? Navalera already eating a lot of damage in the mid lane, but this is game one between Terror Queens and ONIC Pertiwi.
Terror Queens read ONIC like an open book. They know that Navalera definitely wants to try to get that invade, disrupt Yuri, but hold on a second right here. Ku getting a little bit too close, doesn't have any form of reconciliation, no form of escape. She will go down. And ONIC leading the charge. They can't set up that aggression. Pooh trying to chase onto the arena. Navalera not too healthy as of now. They touch and they go. As Terror Queens, their aggression play is starting to hurt them a little bit more.
Yeah, a good start actually though from both teams. Terror Queens figuring out that Navalera would try to go for an invade and then countering that. And then ONIC specifically holding Ku in a position where she wouldn't be able to run into a bush to activate Hilda's passive and get healed up. One death already in favor of ONIC, but since it's early in the game, it's not going to affect the grand scheme of things too much. What does matter though is that it gives Sev space.
Rui goes to the back line. Takes a huge chunk of damage off of Livy, but heals everything back up. She's all fine and dandy. 20 seconds till the turtle spawns up, but I like the fact that Terror Queens are sticking to their guts. They have the aggressive play. They're pulling everyone back, and Ku tries to go in, but the power spikes are not coming through. She doesn't have that stun as of now, as 4 are coming down her arena, making a beeline for it. Rui on the back line, taking down Pooh. Will not be enough damage as Zaz splits up that team fight. Rui comes back down. Down goes Ku. Navalera comes in for the backup. Arena 2-4 deep underneath the turret and gets a double kill. Navalera starting things strong.
A little bit too greedy there. I like the signature aggression from Terror Queens. The trade 1-for-1 initially was actually pretty good since they were able to get a much more important member, but then they lost a second body from Hling Rina trying to go for the kill on Livy. It was really not so necessary, and we can see that ONIC is pretty good at holding their position against this very aggressive team.
Turtle already up. Doesn't look like either team wants to try to dance for this. They'd rather try to give a little bit more information. Rui start things off, pulling the turtle down. Navalera surfing around, trying to wait for the right location. You got the shadows already popped up by Rui. He gets the kill, gets the steal as Luna Lin pops the Crimson Beacon to get away. ONIC with the discipline, they get what they can, but they seek out Ku. Ku doesn't have any heals, doesn't have anywhere to run. As Pooh traps all of them, tries to zone them away. This raging sandstorm locks on the two. And Arena underneath the turret, Luna Lin gets out safe, and ONIC pick up the pick up 2 kills for himself.
Ooh, another Ogi Shadow kill. Rui nearly picks off Livy, but looks like the Farsight will live to fly another day. ONIC, once again, doing a great job of holding position. While it's true, Rui made an amazing play of stealing that turtle away. Ku unfortunately tried to set up for a backline dive when ONIC were already in retreat mode, which meant they could instantly rotate over and pick her off. And the rest of Terror Queen still stuck around despite all of that. They should have sacrificed the Hilda in that position. They did not need to lose an additional body there. But they're still farming pretty well, actually.
How are we feeling about power spikes? Because when we talk about the Khalid, we talk about the Hilda, but hold on a second right here, just zoning Arena out. The Goon Squad is here as ONIC tries to go for another aggressive play onto the EXP side, but just zoning them out and making beeline towards that mid side. And Terror Queens, they read where ONIC is moving. And now, to my question, like, when we talk about turtle spawning up in 40 seconds, but Power Spikes, Khalid has a certain tipping point. What is that pivot where, you know, Khalid starts to get,
For Khalid to remain
fall off?
I mean, it's usually that mid-game viable throughout the game. Navalera will ideally want to remain at least even in gold and ahead in EXP. And right now, she is actually achieving that against Ku. We have to note, both of these heroes, Khalid and Hilda, will fall off later in the game, but Khalid still has an ultimate that sets up fights. That's something Ku does not have access to.
It's a woman on a mission. Pooh already committed the AOG. Got a turtle already spawned up. Luna Lin sourcing for information, putting out that pepper spray to keep ONIC at bay. Got Yippee already in position as well. Onto the mid side, Ku taking a huge chunk of damage from Navalera. Luna Lin pulling Navalera aside as a turtle getting onto the back side. You got a Feather airstrike trying to zone out Luna Lin, pops in Crimson Beacon, gets applied away. The Helen Rana next on a chopping block is Ku trying to take down Livy. Rui steals the turtle, and you got a Rhythm of Joy onto Rui. She might not be able to escape. Collapsed down by 4. That's a punish. Don't take away my turtle. Yippee wants to go for Luna Lin. One more hit, won't be able to get it. Helen Rena trying to zone them all away as Ku tries to get one more kill. Won't be able to do so. That's a sliver. Hilarina will seal that deal. Sakoshi makes a relay towards the mid side. It's a down for a down, tit for a tat. And all heads are falling.
It is an absolute brawl. And somehow, Terror Queens emerge as the victors of that all-out chaotic skirmish in the mid lane. Initially, when the fight started, ONIC were actually doing an amazing job of keeping themselves together, not allowing Terror Queens to split them up to take the fight on their terms. But as Terror Queens continued pushing the fight forward, ONIC started scattering, started to try and punish them for overextending. And that is when Terror Queens decided we can fight back, we can trade bodies here.
You know, the longer this game goes, I think Terror Queens actually has an advantage, taking 2 objectives, taking down the turrets. And you can see on the bottom side, smaller map, is that they are sweeping ONIC aside. Lin definitely looks happy on this one.
You can see that Terror Queens are definitely the aggressors. You know, the reign of terror continues in the Land of Dawn. ONIC trying to play their style, taking it slow, steady, calculated. And Terror Queens is not allowing them to do that. They want to sow as much chaos as possible.
Kill score equalized, and we talked about the tipping point of Khalid. We're seeping into the midpoint mark. Only 1 turtle left to go as Terror Queens actually up ahead in 2,700 gold. That's an item and a half for the Queens as ONIC desperate, scrambling. That's a Raging Sandstorm already committed. You got Pooh onwards, charging onto Ku, pulling her in. Navalera goes down. Luna Lin tries to pull in one back, but on the backside, you got a ballistic missile. Zeb takes down yet another one. Yippee next to fall. Won't be able to run as Ku solidifies and seals her fate. 2 down for both teams.
But I think it still does actually benefit Terror Queens. Yippee was picked off in that fight. Sakoshi was able to get a good amount of gold from the assist, already completed with that Blade of Despair as a second item. And while both marksmen have 2 items completed, we have to note Sakoshi's items are way more expensive compared to Yippie's. There is nearly a 1,500 gold difference between the marksmen alone.
To be honest though, BOD, Malefic Gun, that's all you need, right? You're a Beatrix, you need that additional range, you need that flat damage from that BOD, and you already have that magic penetration from Malefic Gun. So I think Sakoshi's coming online. It's just a positioning that Terror Queens has to watch for. They're still up ahead, 3,600 gold, and Yippee far behind has already 2 deaths. And like you said, in Sky Piercer, it might not be worth it at this point.
Might not be worth it indeed. I mean, it's still going to be a core item for the Granger. Here comes the Joy. I think this is unwise. Yeah, Sev decides she is not going to challenge that. I think that ONIC needs to be not the team that starts the fight. They gotta bait Terror Queens into them instead.
You know, we have a high win rate with the Barca Gata combo that a lot of teams are actually starting to pick up. But then Terror Queens are actually tearing ONIC apart, taking control of the map. The only issue is, right now, Sakoshi's left all alone. She doesn't know where the rest of ONIC is. They're making a beeline for it. They see where she is. They're gonna take down that T1, but it's a trade, T2 for a T1 for both teams.
I think it's pretty smart though to play it safe for now. Sakoshi knows that the rest of her team is going for that top tier 2, so she'll play it safe instead. There's no need to try and challenge Sev to try and protect the bot tier 1, since you're going to get a much more valuable tower in exchange. The goal difference between Yippee and Sakoshi slowly getting higher and higher, and playing Rina as well.
Oh, they're getting pulled back. Pooh will survive, not survive the Wrath of Rui. And on it goes down yet again. Terror Queen still up ahead. And like you said, Sakoshi's damage is starting to hurt, starting to show. 1.7 gold lead. Living with the Feather airstrike. That's a huge red mark. Rui is on Livy. But you got Navalera trying to target onto that Zev. A little bit too close to the sun. This kamikaze gone wrong as Terror Queen starting their rampage yet again.
It still ends up being pretty good for Terror Queens. They lose playing Rina, but they get Sev as well as Livy. These are way more valuable targets. Terror Queens are trading bodies incredibly well. Sakoshi gonna get that Lord, and ONIC suddenly playing on the back foot.
Got their airstrike, try to take down Ku. Down she goes. Rui and Lin doesn't want to push the situation. They want to take down that T1 instead. And virtually, Terror Queen's T1 is left untouched. They got the Lord, they got the T1. The map is wide open, it's looking hella blue.
Looking at the itemization right now, we could see a heavy focus towards physical defense on the side of ONIC, and T-Cuirasses and Blade Armors are being prioritized since ONIC knows Sikoshi is already becoming a problem very, very early on. It does look like Lin decided to go for the Sky Piercer build on that Zeusin as well, so Terror Queens wants to continue playing for brawls.
Living with the Feather Airstrike, but you know, is there any silver lining for ONIC? All I can see is, yeah, play defensively, play the high ground. You have the Feather Airstrike clear things out. Zev tries to clear out that bottom side. Lord marching down the top side.
Again, I think ONIC really just needs to play.
It's a 1v1, but they're clearing out that minions. Zev just waiting for the right call. Won't be able to get it, but on the top side, they're starting a full-out brawl. Lord already charged in, takes down the T3 down to less than half. As Terror Queens again zoning everyone out of the way. Sikoshi just purely on that Bennett's rage. Nevalera starting to fall. She goes down. Arena will pick up that kill. Ku's down too deep, and she will fall by the hands of Yippee. Terror Queens needs to play a little bit more defensively and disciplined if they want to clear things out.
But it still ends up being 1-for-1. Terror Queens nearly takes down the top inhibitor, does take down the mid tier too. It's still actually good for them. This is a style of gameplay that is using their own heroes, their own players as resources in order to gain more gold and presence on the map. And it is actually working. ONIC trying to play a slower game, a more controlled approach, and they are getting absolutely messed up.
Hellerina getting messed up by Yippee. Gets sent to the graveyard. There's a shadow kill onto Yippee. Able to get that flicker out safe. Bennett's Rage will deal a huge chunk of damage. Get a Raging Sandstorm onto Lin. Able to get out safe as well with the Crimson Beacon. As Terror Queens playing a little bit more defensively. Hellerina throwing her body, trying to get those kills. Do you think maybe Terror Queens are starting to get desperate? This might be their power spike.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, I think there is a bit of controlled chaos in the way that Terror Queens plays. ONIC needs to take advantage of that. They actually managed to pick off Ku without trading anyone in that case, because Terror Queens are the type of team that want to force things to happen. So just play it slow.
ONIC diving again. Lin will get one more hit. Gets taken out by Livy on the backside. Nevalera taking a huge chunk of damage. Gets slain by Sikoshi. Good AOG goes wide. Down into the back line. Zev as well diving deep in. The fight is split up. Rui, a sliver of health. Henrina takes care of Zev. Rui will run back safe. And it's a 2-for-2 yet again.
All right. Still an even trade, but at the very least in this case, ONIC was the one to take initiative. Still not the cleanest. The fight was a little bit split up, but Rui ended up in a really awkward position. Ku needs to be a little bit more careful with the way that she actually starts these initiations. Playing Rina as well. Terror Queens doesn't have a very obvious big AoE teamfight ultimate that's used as the go green light for Terror Queens, which means they have to be smarter.
Shadow kill, Livy with a sliver and survives, barely making it out. Ku trying to source for more information where Yippee is, and now it's getting collapsed on by 3, getting that punish. You came a little bit too close as Livy, Lin able to pull back Nevalera, but that is just tickling ONIC just a little bit as Terror Queens make a beeline towards that Lord. They want to take that down before Zev gets into position.
You could say that the Parsa was living on a prayer in that situation. I'm honestly surprised that that was enough damage to nearly take her out, but here we go again.
Oh, Nevalera again with the Raging Sandstorm, but it's not enough. Sikoshi from the backline just gunning everyone down. Zev with the homing ballistic missile trying to take down Lin, but just not enough damage. Linrina left alive. Terror Queens, 2 members fall. It's a 2-for-2 once again. As Terror Queens, they still have Rui. ONIC still has Zev. Zev has the retribution.
There we can see ONIC starting to adapt a little bit to the chaos of the Terror Queens. While the trades ended up being in their favor most of the time earlier on, we can see they're starting to favor a bit more on ONIC. The net worth difference is reducing. Sikoshi being picked off there was also very, very unideal because Terror Queens have been relying on this Beatrix to be the main source of damage output. They gotta start taking a step back. The goal now needs to be protecting their backline.
The bottom side wave already pushing in. Livy with the Feather Airstrike to zone everyone out. Rui tries to get in with that Lord, try to get another steal, but he's down low. Still gets it though with the retribution. He goes down. What is the work? He said it. Sacrifice. Rui actually gets out safe in the nick of time as Ku just taking the hits, taking the blows.
Terror Queens continues to show why they are the dark horse of the competition.
But ONIC cycling through, they want to try to push this.
ONIC, they tried to stop Rui from getting on top of the Lord, and somehow the Hayabusa steals it away anyway. But ONIC are still able to get a good number of structures thanks to that push. Another feathered airstrike. We can see that Libby starting to hurt quite a bit.
Oh, they see where Rui is though. Your Shadow Kill, Winter Crown to negate that damage. No crucial resource. Zap wants to try to chase him down.
Ooh.
We'll do it. Talk about the nerf on the stadium side. That is the additional damage that you need.
That Winter Crown, very specifically purchased in this case. Zev knew exactly what Rui would try to do in those particular situations, and that really made all the difference, because otherwise Rui would have actually gotten that 1v1 kill. ONIC, after trying to claim control of the game for the past 5 minutes, finally in control.
And Rena will take a huge chunk of damage, but she'll be fine and dandy. ONIC has their eyes set on that purple buff. They'll take all the resources that Terror Queens have left behind from a massive 6,000 gold lead down to only 100 as ONIC clawing their way back up in this game.
And that's the scary thing, right? I do feel like ONIC still has better late game scaling, and it's even better in the case that Terror Queens are just throwing themselves at them. It worked pretty well in the early to mid game when they had a gold advantage, but they no longer have that. It's a very much a 50-50, and ONIC has more DPS.
Starting things off with Pooh's taunt, but he took up that orange buff, getting pulled back for airstrike to deal a lot of damage. She has that immortality getting popped up as well. Zab tries to go in all kamikaze mode. Now Valera with the Raging Sandstorm miss all that targets, but Ku is deep into enemy territory. Now Valera will fall by the hands of Luna Lin as ONIC again throwing and sacrificing that Khalid. 2, 6, and 9 for this Khalid. And we talked about how well her power spikes were. And now in the mid to late game, what is the play for Valera?
What's the play? Just don't do what you just saw earlier. Terror Queens actually played that fight exactly the way they needed to. They took a step back. They slowed it down. They saw that ONIC wanted to engage on them, so they back it off. They zone themselves out of the feathered airstrike, slowly isolate them. Ku is able to come in at a later timing, which means that not all 5 members of ONIC are able to focus their damage onto her, and that means she's able to actually buy enough space.
Battlefield's real quiet now. Terror Queens don't want to show themselves too much, as do ONIC.
They do not want to necessarily reveal themselves right now. Control over the top half of the map is the goal.
5 seconds till the Lord spawns up. Terror Queens already in position.
Position to hold over the Lord right now. ONIC gonna be coming over from the bottom side.
Intel.
Navilera, the first one to show themselves in front of Ku. Oh.
Zaf goes down, Helena gets caught out. Sakoshi taking a huge chunk of damage. Helena with the Winter Crown will save her just in the nick of time for the fair strike. She's got to flicker out of the way. AOG too late as Terror Queens. They take down Navalera once again, and Terror Queens have that advantage over the Lord.
That was a beautiful control. Excellently played, actually, by the Terror Queens. Again, spacing themselves out. Yes, a little bit more aggressive than necessary, but now ONIC is at a man disadvantage, and Terror Queens can make use of that. Ooh, Rui trying to go for Zev. That's a
it's
bit
personal
dangerous.
vendetta, Sadafa, but what's not a personal vendetta is Livin already using a crucial resource. No more feather airstrike. Terror Queens will get started on this Lord. They might be able to blitz this down, but Rui doesn't have the retribution. Zab does, though.
Yeah, Zev going to have the slight advantage here. So even though Terror Queens have the numerical lead, they do not have the most important tool for actually taking the Lord down. Luckily for them, the macro on the map is actually favoring them. They've been able to get the lanes pushing up on their half. So that means ONIC is going to eventually have to split off some members to deal with that.
We've come to a point where the game is still fairly even. Terror Queen's just a little bit up on top in terms of economy. You're starting to pull onto that Lord as ONIC getting into position. They need more information. And Sakoshi taking a huge bunch of damage. Zeb is right on that. Popped in immortality. Down goes Arena. Sakoshi gets out safe, but not for long. And she goes down as well. Rui on the back line trying to get onto Livy. All down low, but they still lost 3 members. Terror Queens, they're losing it. Ku trying to run away. I think she can. She'll be fine and dandy. She's eating all of that damage as ONIC trying to quickly blitz down this Lord.
Terra Queens have been the ones setting the tempo in the team fights thus far, but ONIC finally found the target that they were looking for. A surgical incision into the heart of the Terra Queens to find Sakoshi. And once that Beatrix was gone, there was no longer anything to worry about. I feel like Terra Queens needed to back it off the moment that the Beatrix was already vulnerable. They needed to make a call. It is very unlikely they're going to be able to win the fight afterwards. And because they still tried to commit to it, Rui went down as well.
T2 mid already fell. Bottom side T2 will get dealt with by Zev as the Lord marching down the top side. Terra Queens doesn't really have that high ground advantage. The only one is Sakoshi, but ONIC has a very high committal, very high suicidal draft. If they go in, if they throw their bodies once again, this might be a turnaround for Terra Queens.
Feathered Airstrike does so much damage. Top inhibitor will fall. ONIC trying to muscle their way in.
Bennett's Rage already committed. Rui on the back line. That's not a lot of damage, and ONIC will just eat everything up. Down goes Ku, down goes Henrina, and they are targeting onto the throne. Down goes 4 as ONIC secures that throne over Terra Queens. Game number 1 goes over to the Indonesians.
Eyes on the prize right there, baby. That's what ONIC was targeting the entire time. They knew that taking it slow, they knew that trying to play it safe in this situation may be risky considering the way Terra Queens have been playing throughout the entire game. So they're not going to give them that chance. This is the best opportunity they could have found with all 5 members still standing, multiple resources available. The crystal is the only target they need to target. And that's exactly what they did.
If you had one opportunity, one shot, would you capture it? Would you let it slip? I think ONIC really clawed their way back up. I mean, playing on the back foot is not easy. Terra Queens had control of the entire game, but technically, ONIC had such a great performance. We're going to look at the replays again real quick, but man, that turnaround from ONIC was just chef's kiss.
Yeah, I do feel like this is one of the examples of a team showing how to adapt in the middle of the game itself. It's something that has been lacking in a lot of the other teams that had to struggle their way up from the lower bracket. The ability to figure out what needs to change in the way we approach this lineup in the middle of the Land of Dawn, because Terra Queens were actually controlling most of the game and ONIC were just trying to adapt, but they were making sure they weren't losing too many every single time a loss happened, and slowly but surely built up the momentum they needed to eventually push their way into the base. I gotta ask, Leo, now that you're back on the desk, what did you think about Game 1?
It was an impressive showing from Terra Queens, especially the first 3 quarters of this game. They were in control, yes, but I think it was a very fragile type of control. They were constantly attacking and barraging ONIC Pertiwi where it mattered, but when the punches came, it felt like they had a glass jaw. What is a solid right hand or an uppercut when you can't protect yourself? And that's the problem here. Again, I alluded to this before the game even began. How is Sakoshi gonna step up to Yippee? Yippee, yes, struggled a little bit. There was a kill or 2 onto Yippee, but it was so much easier for ONIC to find Sakoshi. And Sakoshi, she just... What was she on? She was on a Beatrix, right?
Beatrix, yeah.
The Beatrix has a dash, a roll, if you will. And then the Beatrix can actually rock Renner. She could have just stayed maybe in a bush away, a few units away from where the fight was actually happening. But especially when it mattered, when she did not have her flicker, she was still in the midst of fights. And I'm like, I saw the AOG, I'm like, oh, this is it. It's over. It's over. That's the second to the last fight.
Yep.
And they lost her. And now the game got flipped on its head. Again, I'd hate to point fingers here. I hate to put blame, but Sakoshi needs to protect herself even more because that is where a good chunk of their power lies, especially with this kind of draft.
I have to add on to that point. Like, we see a lot of Beatrixes in the Women's League, especially in this MWI, that it's only using Bennett or in the B route, but there's so many other weapons, so many other ways and layers to play this that we don't really see from Beatrix players, especially from Sakoshi, having a winning lane, having that gold advantage, and to a point, it was like 3,000 gold. That's an item and a half over this Granger.
Yeah, the thing is, though, there's a reason why most players go Bennett and Nibiru. They're the most consistent. They're gonna be the most effective once you get into the late game.
That's
and
right.
they both do AoE damage, so you can wave clear, you can team fight. It's very solid. I agree with Leo that Sikoshi needed to hide in bushes. That's the only thing that Terra Queen actually needed to change, because their way of playing, their controlled chaos, is actually very practiced. You can see they're very good at advancing the fight slowly while picking off members one by one by just diving in and causing ONIC to scatter. But ONIC did not bite onto that bait. The longer the game went, the more they realized if we just find the Beatrix, we win the fight automatically.
And that happened very often. Ku dying should be a part of protecting Sikoshi. Her deaths and her life should be worth more than Sikoshi's when it comes down to it. Like, if I die, that means you live and you kill too. That is the exchange. But so far, it's been 1-for-1. And ONIC wins that trade out if this continues. And I'm looking at their KDAs, I'm looking at their stats. Zev is amazing, 10-3 and 10. She punished Rui's selfish plays where she tried to get the solo kill. Again, key there would be that winner crown. But I'm also looking at Yippee. Yippee with the recovery of a lifetime. Again, this all-star gold laner is really showing up. Even after this game, even after this hard-fought game, playing from the back foot for a majority of the, how long was it? 18 minutes, 17-minute game?
7 to 18 minutes, yeah.
She still deserves to be on top of the food chain. She is currently #1 across all MWI competitors. She beat out Sikoshi, KDA, GPM, DPM, but kill participation though, again, you're slicing threads here. It's a small difference. Maybe Sikoshi can afford to put that down to 40%. Because that's only when it matters, when she finally gets the kill, or maybe even just pushing turrets.
Yeah, honestly, I think that one stat actually tells the entire story, because both teams have an assassin whose main goal is to find the opposing gold laner. Zev did a great job of locating Sikoshi a lot of the time, but you notice Rui never really could jump on Yippee because the Granger was never really vulnerable in the fights. It's always standing with the team or hiding in a bush first and then joining later.
And most times she just gives up and she goes for, lo and behold, Zev, which is a losing battle. There were so many times Rui tried to take down Zev and Zev just standing there with her crown. All right, I'm gonna kill you. That happened at least once. That anime moment wherein, oh, you walk up to me moment, that happened once and she regretted that. And things were never the same.
Honestly, though, to that point, I just want to give huge props to Nevalera, because in the early game, I was questioning a lot of the Raging Sandstorms, and I know like Klee kind of falls off in the mid to late game, but she found that mark onto Sikoshi, just enabled Zev to get a free entry into that gold lane and into that back line so that you can take the damage dealer down and Yippee can just go ham and gung-ho down the line.
It's additional ways to catch Sikoshi. If not, at least compromise her spacing. The fact that Lunalyn is playing on a Zushin does not help the situation. She's much better on the offense, and when they were closing in on their base, when they were inside defending, you can see that Lunalyn was really struggling. Again, I do believe her build was the usual way to build a Zushin, and that's not very good on the back foot. Our match MVP brought to us by Sony is none other than Yippee. Look at that, fully built up all the way. She even sold her boots. Like, she just wanted to get this done.
And we have to remember, right, that Yippee was losing in gold farm early on in the game by quite a wide margin, actually. Sikoshi had already completed Malefic Gun and BOD by the time Yippee only had Hunter Strike and Sky Piercer. There's a very big difference in the price of those items overall. So she was able to make up that difference thanks to very smart positioning, very good adjustments from the entire squad of ONIC.
And patience. I think a huge part of ONIC Pertiwi's comeback is patience. That is a trademark of any successful Southeast Asian MLBB team. I'm even looking at the men's division. They know how to play on the defense. They know how to sit back, relax, play underneath our turrets, and know when we're not the beatdown and when to clap back. That is exactly what ONIC did here to reclaim the game away from the Terror Queens.
Yeah, I gotta say, a lot of gold laners actually don't shine in the lane. Yes, Yippee had a tough time against Sikoshi on a one-to-one kind of situation, but when it comes down to the mid to late game team fights, when Yippee was actually in the picture, she was actually outputting that damage that the ONIC actually needs. the first 2 deaths was only within the first 5 minutes, and that's when, you know, Rui was trying to gank on Yippee and she falls and you can't really escape from that. But when you get into a position where your team is backing you up, that's when Yippee really shines.
Yep, like to commend as well Livy from ONIC Indonesia. There's a term that usually we don't hear when it comes to MLBB is suppressive fire. This Farsa played so well to put up suppressive fire for the forward momentum of the Terra Queens that they eventually got to a position of victory like this. We would not be able to get out of the base if Livy was not playing it to a T to protect that top lane tier 3 and then just finding a way back into the map.
I think you can actually see from the movements of most of ONIC that it was a complete shift in approach, the way that they were team fighting, right? Initially, it was kind of chaotic. We saw Navilera miss a lot of Raging Sandstorms in the early stages because ONIC was the one that wanted to start fights. But as time went on, they started realizing, okay, Terra Queen is going to run at us whether we want it or not. We are going to use our resources in a utilitarian way. We are going to use our HP bars as defensive measures and constantly shift our positioning to make sure that Yippee is always standing as far back as possible.
Until they were on the offensive, until they got back into the driver's seat. This is contradictory to the well-known mantra of fake it till you make it. What ONIC Indonesia did was take it till you make it, and they were just taking it to the chin. They were taking their losses, rolling with the punches, and eventually a gold advantage and a map advantage made itself apparent, and they went for the juggler. Ladies and gentlemen, first to the board and at match point currently in this quarterfinals bout is ONIC Pertiwi of Indonesia. This contest could not be more tight given that Terra Queens was in control of a majority of game number 1. Besides protecting Sikoshi, besides keeping herself scarce and hiding and waiting till that power spike is just almost unstoppable, anything else that Terra Queens could do to maybe take us to game number 3?
The shift forward is in one of 2 directions. You either change up your gameplay style so that you are able to adapt if necessary, or you draft heroes that are meant for chaos. I think a lot of the draft was pretty suited, but the Zusin is better for slower engagements.
We'll see if that is the same approach. Terra Queens on the play. ONIC Pertiwi answering back. Coach MSK, Coach Siku at the helm. This chess battle, this contest of minds setting up the draft for game number 2. Gentlemen, it's all you.
All right. Thank you, Leo. Let us go ahead and take it away, Churros. How about you? What do you think needs to change for game number 2?
The fights. The way that Terra Queens take the fights is where Ku likes to set things up. When she goes as a loose member to try to chase Livy down when the Fair Airstrike was on, I think that was where, you know, there's no one at the back line protecting Sikoshi, and Sikoshi falls together with Luna Lin because they're always together. The roam should be still kind of held back and trying to setting things up and try to play a classic front to back, but it wasn't really a front to back. We see during the last couple of Lord fights that the fight was split up into 10 different directions. Everyone's just chasing who they want to chase.
The thing is, Terra Queens, I believe they want the fight to be split up in 10 different directions. So if they intend to stick to the same gameplay style, I think a change in draft is probably what we're going to be looking at, because Ku actually needed to be jumping in front as well. Hilda's not really going to do much in the case of defense. So running down the opponent is the best way Ku can contribute, and Hlingrina on the CC is not going to be able to really defend as well. Terra Queens are really depending on their players, holding their own positions in a lot of the fights, and that worked initially, but then got adjusted too.
We're starting things off with the first phase of the ban complete. But one thing I noticed was that ONIC is actually respecting this Hilda. On the other hand, Terra Queens will first pick that Joy, denying it over the hands of Zev. Everything looks pretty much even Stevens for Terra Queens, but that is typically the Gata Kacha spot, so they want to pick that up alongside the Farsa, which is highly valuable. So we go back into Terra Queens.
Still very safe, very universal opening, good damage, good bulkiness, get out of jail free card, and these 2 heroes generally clear mid lane very fast as well. So there's no argument for me to open up in this way, and ONIC will be able to use that to hide the strategy going into this game too.
what about the Uranus? I mean, Helen Arena also played a heck of a Uranus. Now that the Hilda's gone, you want to play aggressive. You could play a loose member with the Uranus instead, but they want to go with the CC. So Uranus not in question again.
CC is fine for getting EXP lane dominance and is actually quite suited to the style that Terra Queens wants to play in the first place of diving into the backline. Since they do go for a Granger this time as well, I do hope they put Ku on a slightly more defensive optimized roamer so that you don't have both of your frontliners running all the way into the enemy and leaving you vulnerable.
So at least right now, you have some sort of like backline disruptors, and you have sort of like a traditional front to back in that Granger, and you have pretty reliable scalability in the late game. But the Porcupines will secure the Earthel as their last pick. And moving on to the second phase of that band, what's left for Terra Queens is actually the roam and the mid lane. And what's left open is quite a lot of options right here. You got a Juicy, you got a Kimmy. If you want to play a little bit more sneaky, you could always go for... Oh no, like... Was it? No, the Loyi was in the second game, but yeah, I don't think Loyi would come out.
Yeah, I don't think so. We did already see some surprising mid lane debuts. Like just Novaria. Earlier. We saw the Novaria, yep, from Foot, I believe it was.
As a counter towards the Farsa.
So it could be an option. Zusin, I already pointed out earlier, is a bit of a slow mate for what Terra Queens is trying to do. But a lot of the faster mages are not really in the meta right now as well. That's why Farsa has such a high priority overall. Khalid also gets banned out by ONIC, so they're just trying to make sure Terra Queens doesn't have a hero that just straight up bullies the early game. They want to play it a more classic style, which ONIC seems to be better at.
Last ban over from ONIC. Could also try to ban out a particular mage. It will be the Juicin ban. So what's left open is basically Kimmy. I don't think ONIC will be able to pick that up as well since the Farsa is open. I think they're trying to suss out the Kimmy though. It might be a bait for them, and then they have an answer because you could get a dive composition into the back line. I think a Ling would be a good viable option, but it will be the Isun Shin.
So they ban Yi Sun Shin, focus on to assassins on the side of Terra Queens. They want Joy to be the one controlling the tempo of the backline dives. With Zusin also banned out, I don't think Kimmy is very suited for the way Terra Queens wants to play. Kimmy Granger is actually a great combination, but it's better for teams that want to scale into the late game, which Terra Queens has not really shown themselves to prefer. An interesting option might be the Valentina for them to steal away the Feather Airstrike and AOG.
Sort of like a matchup and fight fire with fire kind of situation. For the Porcupines, I am really hinting on either Hanzo or even a Ling.
Hanzo or Ling is not bad. Fredrin might actually be interesting. Already is pretty good into the Joy. They go for the EXP lane first.
A little bit more stable pick with the Phoveus. The Carmilla comes out for Terra Queens.
Are they doing Carmilla Sicilian?
Might be, but then they're pretty glass cannon. But you have a lot of, like, once you have the Blood Pact, it just splits up that damage like nobody's business.
You can actually still go Kimmy here. It actually matches up quite well with the Carmilla.
Yeah.
Without relying on late game scaling like the Sicilian. But again, not very suited for the way Terra Queens wants to play specifically. So we will have to see here.
Man, I'm thinking Kimmy would be a good option. The Zask. The Zask and Camilla.
It's zone control at its finest.
And the Fanny actually finally comes out over the hands of Zev. You're feeling good about it though.
I was wondering, because it's not very often you leave your jungle pick for the very last in the draft. So I was thinking, are we going to see a Fanny here? But I didn't actually expect it to be locked in ONIC, setting the stage.
Hey, what are you saying? Fanny is Indonesian flavor. It's uniquely Indonesian, and they love their Fanny. They love their high mobilities, but we're jumping into this game. Any last thoughts on this draft?
Okay, it's gonna be interesting. It's a little bit more difficult overall for Terra Queens. Yes, their heroes are capable of taking care of themselves, but their overall team fight presence is much more lacking in comparison to the side of ONIC. And then when we look at the early game potential of Fanny, it just becomes absolutely terrifying. Game 2 shall open the gates towards the land of dawn, as ONIC currently threatening to end the journey of our MWI Dark Horses. Can Terra Queens reverse their fate?
Question on everybody's head who's watching right now is, does Zask and the Camilla, Zask taking a lot of damage early on, and ONIC already getting that zone potential and that winning lane right off the bat, but the interaction between this really comes to light in the mid to late stages of the game, where the Dominator's Descent starts to deal a lot more damage, and you have that Curse of Blood really locking everyone in place. But it's a lot harder now that you're facing up against a Fanny, a wild card, an interesting pick coming out.
And Zev already trying to cause some damage in the mid lane.
Spin to win, and the cables will not land. Luna Lin gets out safe, doesn't have the flicker, but Livy will take her out.
At his first blood over to ONIC. I think we knew coming into this game, early game was going to be ONIC's playground. They're going to focus on getting a snowball. The only losing lane is EXP, and that's why Livy is ganking it so much.
And Rena taking a lot of damage, getting knocked back, pushed up, knocked forward, pulled apart. Livy again, all the way from the mid lane. On the top side though, Pooh taking a lot of damage. You know where Rui is, getting taunted up. Zev on the wall spam, and taking Rui down. Can't ask for a better start for ONIC.
That is the blender defined right there. The unbreakable into the cable spam. ONIC is playing this early game perfectly. They know that Terra Queens wants to be the one setting the momentum, so they've drafted in a way that doesn't give it to them. And again, it's so smart to keep sending Livy to the EXP lane, because that is the only part of the map where they don't have priority.
It's a 1v2 down the mid side. Ku and Luna Lin against Pooh, but will be able to walk out safe. Doesn't have the AOG as of now, but the Curse of Blood will take a little bit more time, as Livy already on level 4, and the Turtle will be the next major objective.
Next major objective should be pretty easy for ONIC to contest. I really don't think Terra Queens have the team fight necessary, even at level 4, to actually try and fight it.
Start to zone everyone out. A lot of damage. Helena will start to get work onto Nevalerina. A little bit of suppressive fire to keep everyone at bay. Helena goes into the back line. Here comes Zev with that damage. And 2 members taking down Ku on the back line again with a little bit of cable play down on mid lane.
It is beautiful. It's perfect. It's exactly what ONIC needs to be doing. Now Valera 1v2 and winning.
Rue's next on the chopping block. Huge red cross right on her back. Won't be enough as Livy proves me wrong and takes her down with a killing spree.
ONIC is showing the world how it's done right now. Every angle meticulously calculated in that turtle fight. We saw Poe jump into that funnel with the unbreakable, setting it up perfectly for the iron sights of Zev. And then even following up afterwards, Navilera surviving for so long, knowing that Terra Queens just doesn't have enough early game burst damage. They're all about zone control, but it doesn't matter if you just run right into the back.
They start to get work done. Let's give Zev off the screen. Takes down Rui and his solo kill. Livy pops the flicker out. Save Luna Lin. Pops it in. The Fair Airstrike will deal 2 chunk of damage, but will get knocked back by Nevalera. A little bit more damage, and here comes Zev. Will not be enough to take Luna Lin down. ONIC staying disciplined will hold back and take down the first turtle.
ONIC have been hiding this secret weapon. They've been waiting for the opportunity to bring it out. And it is terrifying. The Terra Queens have not been prepared for this. It is exactly how the game is meant to be played. It's exactly how the composition is meant to be executed. And unfortunately, the unusual draft coming out of Terra Queens this game is not doing them any favors. Already a 2,000 gold lead in favor of ONIC. The only lane that is keeping up in gold is going to be Sikoshi. So Terra Queens might want to put more attention over there.
Zev, cable a little bit too far and out of the way. Swing, and Zev will get taken down. Shut down by Rui on the top side. Luna Lin takes down Livy with the Dominator's Descent. That's a lot of damage coming in from that Zaz as Pooh gets taken down as well with the double kill. But here comes Nevalara. She will make it count underneath the turret. Yippee, one more hit onto Sakoshi. She will get out safe as both gold laners are holding a personal vendetta against each other.
That was actually massive. Oh, that was close. Just a little bit sooner, we would have found them there. But Terra Queens actually got a really good trade. All of a sudden, the 2k gold lead is reduced to only about 600. Sakoshi was the only survivor of the skirmish, and we already pointed out that she is going to be the most important member for Terra Queens to keep alive. I do think ONIC dived a little bit too deep there, and Sev, trying to go for the solo kill when she was that low on energy, gave away that shutdown gold as well.
Luna Lin starting to come online as well with the damage in with the Dominator's Descent, but we've yet to see the Curse of Blood actually make a huge impact in any of these team fights.
And not yet, because unfortunately Curse of Blood is very conditional in the way that it is used. It's a big AoE, but it doesn't nearly provide as much impact as something like Implosion, for example. Oh, Luna Lin!
One more frame and she might have been safe as Livy takes her down. Ku a little bit too late for the backup as well.
Pretty sure Luna Lin actually ended up dying to the lethal ignition burn right before entering her ultimate. That's very unfortunate, because if she was able to jump in, it would have bought a lot more time. ONIC can now use that numbers advantage to secure a very easy turtle.
Nice little trade. Rui knows that they can't contest for this turtle, so they'll push down, slow push down that top side instead. But they're pushing that situation, though, waiting for the right time. Zeb trying to find a right angle onto Ku. It's hard to break down. There's a Curse of Blood onto 2. As ONIC will back off as Helen Rina on the back line. Now Valera trying to take a lot of burst damage, tickling, and the Dominance Descent will get held on a little bit too deep, forced to use that flicker out of the way, but here comes Yippee with a huge burst of damage. One more hit and Ku might be able to fall as Helen Rina on the back line, dealing on to 3.
Now, ONIC is staying a surprisingly long time here, but they do end up in control in the end. I'm kind of surprised they didn't go for that orange buff, but Sev is not around, so it's a bit difficult to do so anyway. And now Valera, we can see how difficult it is to remove the Phobius at this point. Went for the Radiant into the Dreadnought, so covering all the bases, and a lot of Terra Queen's damage is very slow, so because of that, they're not able to quickly burst a target down.
We're slowing things down. First Lord spawning up in a minute as Terra Queens are still struggling. But it's still kind of even, 1,300 gold lead. Not a lot as ONIC still has to maintain that wave pressure on the long lane, the short lane. Side waves are still pushing in favor of ONIC.
It really isn't as bad as it seemed like after the first couple minutes. That big trade in the gold lane made a huge difference in reducing the gold that ONIC was able to hold on to and getting multiple shutdowns at the same time. Sakoshi is still going to be the main target.
Oh, the wall spam, Dominance Descent just to save Luna Lin in time, but a huge resource already used up. Zev still has the cables, will be getting out saved. That's the beauty of that Fanny. You can be at the bottom side, pushed in that wave, and you can be in the midst of battle, forcing crucial resources.
And this is one of the risks of picking your EXP laner so early as well. That's one of the roles that would have the crowd control to try and stop Sev, but playing Rina locked in the CC very quickly. So ONIC knew they wouldn't have to worry about more than one potential source of CC.
Lord spawned up, Terra Queens in position, as is ONIC. Because with the Fanny, you can afford to slow push down. If you have vision of Fanny, it doesn't really matter. For Terra Queens, they need to be able to identify where Yippee is. It's still 0-0-3 at this point, and Sakoshi, it's finding it hard to deal that brunt of damage, especially with a composition like ONIC that's so mobile.
Looks like Terra Queens are trying to force this while Sev is still in the bot lane.
Curse of Blood already utilized. Expressive Fire from Livy, trying to push everyone back out of the way. Ku is next on a chopping block down low, as Pooh down in the back line as well, facing up against the rest of Terra Queens, but they are a little bit more disciplined. But here comes Rui, down to Kamikaze, deal a little bit of damage, getting out of the way. A lot of ultimates already spent by the side of Terra Queens. ONIC will try to rush and blitz this out, but Rui actually takes down Navalera from off the map. Terra Queens are still slowly clawing their way back up.
After an extended interaction, Terra Queens actually comes out on top. Rui picks off the Phobius, so ONIC has one less front line. They are in control of the Lord Pit.
Zev getting stopped in his tracks. The Lord getting reset. Ku taking a lot of damage from him. Ku getting pulled back. Livy down low with the wings by wings, able to get out safe. But from Yippee from the back, gunning everyone down. A huge find, a huge flag, a huge wraparound that the Porcupines are raising their spikes onto the Terror Queens. But they still managed to get that Lord. ONIC might have taken down 2, but Terror Queens, they stole the main objective.
Yippee got a great flank, but at the same time, yeah, she got out of the way, but playing Rina did the exact same thing. The CC picked off Zev and Livy by herself. So because of that, there was no retry contestation from the side of ONIC. It still ends up being a pretty solid trade overall. As you can see, the CC in the backline causing a lot of havoc.
I was busy looking at the Earthel because that was a nice flank, but the Rina was keeping the backline busy. That could have gone way differently if Zev was able to survive against the wrap of Ku.
But that's why you gotta mind your positioning. Fanny, definitely not as strong as she used to be, but still a very annoying hero to deal with if done correctly. Thanks to that, we actually see the gold is completely even. We are 11 minutes into the game at this stage. It is still anyone's a game, but the Lord is pushing up in favor of the Terror Queens. And a lot of ONIC's resources have to be spent to make sure their other towers do not fall.
The airstrike keeping everyone else at bay. Lunalin already popped the dominance descent, but they can get the reposition, doing a little bit of a tickle onto Valera. Sakoshi coming online as well with the damage coming through. They want to take down that T1 desperately as Terror Queens having the Lord push up that situation on the top side. Zev gets out safe. Both these two teams, they're just touching, they're just teasing each other now.
I do think that ONIC needs to tone it down once again. They need to adapt, play more towards the team, because Terror Queens, again, really don't have that good of a team fight combination, and yet it's still working.
Fair airstrike to kick things off from the backline. Ruiz gunning everyone down with the rhythm of joy, but on the backside as well, you got Zav just making things work. 4 members still alive on the side of Terror Queens. ONIC, 2 members fell, and as much as ONIC had the upper hand the entirety of this game, Terror Queens, they're coming back.
That was a mistake by ONIC. Again, like I said, you do not need to force things. Play it as calculated. Zev is just clearing the wave here, so it's fine. But
they're trying to force it though. Zev with the cable, she misses it, and she goes down.
Why? I literally just said, don't do that.
They can't hear you, Siddhartha.
You're right, they can't hear. But really, first, you set yourself up for a 4-man curse of blood. This ultimate is not usually that effective, but when you get that many people, yes, it is, especially with Rui running straight into the backline and picking off Yippee. Yes, Zev found Sakoshi, but you lose your own goal laner and more members as a result of that. It is not worth it.
We're seeping into the later stage of the game. Both teams are still equalized as Terror Queens has 1 Lord advantage. Next Lord will be coming up now. As now with Zev on the Fanny, just playing as a lone member. She doesn't see that! Down underneath, ambush, able to cable out safe. This Terror Queens, they are reading her like an open book.
Zev took an entire pie to the face and somehow managed to fly out while blind. Terror Queens, though, not stopping on the pressure. Instant conceal, runs into ONIC in the mid bush.
Yippee just bursting everyone down the back line, but not enough. The dominance descend. Yippie's left all alone. Rui chasing her down, gunning her through. Zev tries to deal a lot of damage. Rui taking a lot, but able to manage to get out safe. But a crucial resource have been spent by both teams. ONIC loses the crucial damage dealer.
I feel like we need to check with production if the teams are swapped, because I feel like I'm looking at the opposite result of game number 1. ONIC is forcing things unnecessarily, and Terror Queens is winning out by holding their position. I really don't think Yippee needs to force these flanks. Look at how much damage she does.
Oh, 2-man curse of blood. We're trapping everyone down. Get us curtain call. Zap bursting. Lunalin down. Rui making an answer count for Nevalara as well. Their airstrike to push everyone away. A little bit of suppressive fire, but here comes Rui with a lot of damage as well. Not enough to take Livy down, but here comes Zav. Not a lot of resources, not a lot of dashes. Getting knocked up by the tsunamis as Ku slowly walking away. Rui takes up that Lord as Zav. Cables out safe. Sakoshi, a lot of damage. Getting taken out. Yippee pops that sprint. Try to gun everyone down. Pooh in the back lines of enemy territory. Yippee finally takes down Ku. Sakoshi takes down Pooh. Yippee still coming in. Zav on the back line. Arena over the wall. will get sent to the graveyard as Lord slowly marching down the bottom side. Still, they take that Lord, but there's not a lot of value. It's already down to half.
That was here comes Rui once again.
Livy will get taken out. Yippee barely surviving, but next on the chopping block, huge red flag on her back as Zav slowly cables down, trying to deal with that Lord. As Terra Queens just taking control of that map. Zav finds herself in the midst of the jungle, forcing Luna Lin to use the Dominator's Descend, able to get out safe for now.
This is very, very strange from ONIC. They are not playing the adaptive style that we saw from them in game number 1, and that we specifically praised them for. Being able to figure out how to adapt and how to take advantage of their opponent's habits, and yet they are falling into the same habits themselves. They do not need to be forcing these. They can team fight. They have a lot of damage, yes, but that does not necessitate going for these 1v1 bursts. Wait, you have a Gatot, you have a Phoveus, you can buy so much time in the front line, and then Zev and Yippee can come in at the right timing.
Both teams mirroring each other's play styles. Wave pushing down the bottom side in favor of Terra Queens. ONIC already cleared things up. That's a neutral lane right there. The play from either side, man, this is a very tricky situation. There are critical heroes that you want to take down. There are crucial members that both teams want to target. For ONIC, it's Yippee. For Terra Queens, it's Sakoshi. But Rui is the one that's carrying everyone on her back.
And Rui's already maxed out on items here. Again, Navarella gonna be found.
Oh, Navarella taking a huge chunk of damage onto the face, getting pulled back, stunned up, immortality popped up. Pooh will not be able to save as Navarella gets sent to the graveyard once again. Terra Queens just slowly picking off one after another.
And it is working out pretty well. Again, Terra Queens are now in their zone. They're in their comfort. This draft, which is quite unusual, has actually scaled up quite safely, scaled up quite well, so they have a little bit more leeway in order to start being the ones taking the initiative. They have map control at this point, and ONIC is going to need to try and reset the state of the map by Zev going for those split pushes.
Zev does have cables to get out of the way. Henrina tries to stop her in her tracks, but the recall will be imminent as Terra Queens slowly but surely trying to clear out that wave and handle this Fanny. Lord spawns up, ONIC already in position. Terra Queens making a beeline for it.
See the exchange in the river once again.
Rui already deals a huge chunk of damage onto Livy. No more flicker for this Farsa. As Terra Queens, they're trying to push ONIC back out of the way. They know where Zev is. They're trying to wait for it. They're trying to bait her out.
Sakoshi gonna be doing some poke here. Zev, as you pointed out, is waiting on the opposite side. Will eventually show herself since she has to clear out the mid lane. Rui just looking for a squishy target to burst down if possible. Terra Queens are the ones holding on to a gold lead, but it's not a very big one. It's only 2K as we approach the 18-minute mark. This is still anyone's game.
Yeah, Zev is still out of the picture, but this is a Fanny. You want to stay under the shadows. But now they're trying to force it though. The fair airstrike trying to push everyone back. Who taking a huge brunt of the damage will fall as Yippee takes her down. Luna Lin takes down that Farsa. And you got a 1-for-1 trade, but here comes Zav, still fresh, still full of life, and taking down Rui. Rui dashes, bobs, weaves out of the way. He has that immortality, has that second life. As Terra Queen still can contest for this Lord. That's the problem with that Fanny. You can't dance around this major objective.
It's very chaotic the way that ONIC is playing this. Fanny doesn't hold space very well, but the rest of her team does.
Zav taking a lot of damage from Sakoshi. Will not be enough to finish that job. The Wind of Nature pops in the nick of time. Yippee from the back line. Rui will take down Navalera from off the mess, splitting that fight once again.
That Wind of Nature timing was so good from Sakoshi. The moment Zev left, the moment she saw a sign of Yippee, the button was pressed, and now Luna Lin going in.
With Dominator's Descent, a little damage. Yippee is slowed down. Can't afford to chase her though, so no more Irithel, no more main damage dealer though. Dominator's Descent still up. Luna Lin pops back out. Terra Queens blitzing chasing down this Lord. Zeph doesn't want to contest for this one. Might be able to steal it this time around. Rui takes it from underneath ONIC's nose. This crew taking brunt of damage from Yippee. Zeph in the midst of battle, stuck up by the curtain call. Nowhere to run. She falls to the ground.
We can officially start saying that this is a true reversal from the Terror Queens. ONIC are scrambling like headless chickens, and the Terror Queens are finding the precise moments to punish them for overextending their pressure. They're trying to gain control, but it's going to be very difficult to do so if you are not coordinated in your approach.
Starting things slow. A little bit of a zoning potential from the further airstrike. Dominance Descent already utilized by Lunar Lin. Terror Queens slow pushing this, waiting for the Lord to get in position. They need 3 waves to start crashing down onto the T3s.
I feel like there's a possibility ONIC might be putting a bit too much attention onto that Curse of Blood. Maybe they're trying not to stand together so that the damage doesn't spread. But
oh, that's cool. That's cool. Taking a lot of damage, but here comes Rui! Taking down Yippee! Got an immortality all popped up over the wall. Zap can't chase that one. Down goes Nevalera, a little bit too close to the sun. Sakoshi takes up that one. Zeph with a cable ends up safe, but goes out of the way for some reason. As ONIC still desperately trying to defend. You got a T3 down the top side and bottom, already cracked wide open.
A good choice by the Terror Queens to decide to slow this down a bit. Sakoshi will stay long enough just to get that mid inhibitor and walk away to a naked base. ONIC no longer holding on to any structures on the map. They are starting to reach their final items, but Terror Queens are the ones in full control. Again, the team of the game right now needs to be to slow it down. ONIC is well aware that Terror is very good at forcing chaotic skirmishes. They are going to be very vulnerable if Terror Queens tries to force individual 1v1s, and yet they keep falling into that trap.
We're trying to slow things down, but it does look like the Terror Queens are trying to steal away this purple buff, but here comes Rui. Does have the retribution though. Takes it away from Zap and locked it down. AOG a little bit too close though. Good Winter Crown keeping her safe for now. There's a one-man Curse of Blood. We take Pooh down. Nevalera will be next to fall. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. As Terror Queens take down 2 from ONIC. This is a numbers game, and they might be able to push this wave. Zap tries her desperate best to clean up these minions and go back to base. It's another crucial defense from ONIC. This might be it, though. On the back line, you've been taking a little bit too much damage. Get a fair airstrike already popped up. Curse of Blood down to 2. Ku takes down 1. Rui another. No more Farsight. It's just Fanny against the world as the Terror Queens continue their terror.
The Dark
fear.
Horses continue their reign, Churros. They have done it again. They have proven to us why they are deserving of the title, why they are a team worth respecting. They have once again taken a game off of a team with much more international standing.
This could have gone way differently should ONIC play a little bit more defensively and wait for their power spikes, but man, very risky plays, especially from Yippee. You've seen with the Earthel a couple times from the flanks, but man, we're going to a game 3.
I am honestly stumped. I am really shocked. We literally expressed that this draft was weird. It probably wouldn't really work out since ONIC's lineup looks a lot easier to work on. Their early game was perfectly done as well in order to control most of the map and start feeding kills into Zev. But then once you got into the mid game, where they actually did have good itemization and good damage, they kept forcing things when they really didn't need to.
Yeah, this is a tough pill to swallow for ONIC, and I think that for Terror Queens, they played it very beautifully. They knew their power spikes. There's a reason why they picked up that Zaz. There's a reason why they picked up the Carmilla. But this is a truly interesting draft that I want to talk more about. But let's hear from Leo. What are your thoughts watching this from the sidelines?
I'll be honest with you, my heart is split and my attention has been diverted. Yes, this is an amazing win for Terror Queens, making that Zask and Carmilla work. A throw no caution to the wind, pocket pick that just was enough to stump the Fanny. Possibly the first Fanny in all of MWI, maybe the second if my statistics serve me correctly. But as a quick update, Navi PH has fallen.
What?
Gaiman Gladiators have swept the defending champions from the knockouts.
That is huge.
That is what's happening on Stream A. But Stream B, this could be once again another upset. A huge, huge development in the MLBB women's scene. Now back into the action, let's talk about Terra Queens versus ONIC. My eyes were still on the game, all right? I was still paying attention, and here's the thing. That Fanny, there's a reason why, despite it being still mechanically and beyond all logic being a broken hero in MLBB, has a specific window. And those windows were not opened up by Terra Queens. Rui did not back down. Rui did not allow for ONIC to spread them wide. And if anything, it's Terra Queens who stood their ground and said, you know what? If you're picking this fight here, I'm dropping the Festival of Blood, or rather the Feast of Blood. Festival of Blood is an emblem, which is the one you see on multiple heroes here. But I'm dropping the Feast of Blood, and if we're fighting here, we're fighting here. You're gonna regret it. And that's where I think the usually power pick in the Fovius in Navillera's hands kind of backfired.
The thing is, the Fovius was actually fine. Navillera was buying a lot of time in the early game, and it worked super well when Terra Queens was lacking items because their damage is just so slow. They basically have no burst at all.
But what did it do in the late game?
Yes, that's the issue.
That's the problem. As soon as Terra Queens clawed back and closed that gap and then built 1,000 gold lead, 2,000 gold lead, 3,000. What's the Fanny to do there? Sure, you can split the map, but the question is, what else does this lineup do besides let the Fovius die?
How else could ONIC have better played this around Terra Queens? I mean, they did all the right things.
I think one key that kind of stopped, or a huge speed bump to ONIC's sweep, would be the Zask.
Yes.
All right, say what you will about the Zask being this weird pig, but around this time last year, the real battle in mid was Zask and Zushin. And what does the Zask bring to the table? It's a hard stop. It's literally, all right, you found me, Fanny. Psych! I'm just gonna go into my big Johnny here, the Dominator's Descent, and then how about you try again? And that definitely slows down ONIC's momentum and denies them that easy win. That's why at some point, ONIC just stopped finding kills. ONIC just stopped finding movements on the map, and this does not take away Yippie's stellar performance. Again, even when they lose, even when they go all the distance, such as now, she still is miles ahead, stats-wise.
I mean, Yippie was farming so effectively that she was basically one-shotting the backline into the mid-game. The first time that we actually saw Yippie participate in a team fight, she picked up a double kill all by herself by flanking in the Lord Pit. The problem is, she kept trying to do that afterwards, and the circumstances are no longer quite as applied. Yes, it would be great if you can just blow up the squishy targets. But what if that doesn't happen? Then all of a sudden you are super out of position and your team cannot get to you.
This is the reality situation, ladies and gentlemen, watching from at home, all around the world. Nothing is granted, everything is earned. So goes the Esports World Cup mantra, but as well, anything is possible. ONIC Indonesia could fall here right now in the hands of Terra Queens because they are at match point. One more game away. Looking at the damage dealt, Sikoshi again, respectable 93k, second only to Rui, but she did take 60 on the clapback, which is again for a winning team that went all the way like this. Still quite a bit. I keep watching Sikoshi. I keep looking at her and saying, what else do you need to do to protect yourself? How else can your team cover that up?
There were a lot of enabling factors for Rui to deal that much damage, and it's got to deal with the Carmilla. We haven't talked about the Carmilla quite a bit, but you know, this is the beautiful faces around the highest stats on the board. Rui with the highest DPM, Pooh with the highest DTPM, and Rui again. Rui, we've seen Rui a lot of times.
Rui is a force of nature. She decides to do things, and there's very little that can stop her. I love that you mentioned the Carmilla. The Carmilla is kind of a force multiplier for Rui, because as soon as y'all enter the Feast of Blood, Rui's modus just becomes activated. Like, she's basically a warm bowl of spaghetti, and Kui's the sauce.
Are you just talking about Johnny B?
Basically.
Hey.
I mean, The Carmilla is what basically turns Rui into the ruin
You're not wrong.
of the opposite side here. Sakoshi still ends up being our match MVP from Sony right here on that Granger because, yeah, the Granger is supposed to be a squishy hero. Isn't usually supposed to eat a lot of damage, and yet she survived 60,000 damage. A lot of times, Sev was specifically waiting to find her, and yet she was the one reversing that fight.
And mind you, she is not rocking a Wind of Nature, so she did not fear the Fanny diving her. She just really played with the space, and she, I guess, did it the old-fashioned way. She brute forced her way into a strong position and said to Sev, hey, if you can't kill me, we're winning these fights and we're taking objectives, we're turning this game around, and now we find ourselves at match point. The ladies are actually finding themselves now on their way to their battle stations, getting comfy for game number 3. We'll see the game highlights once more and see exactly where ONIC may have dropped the ball, where ONIC may have slipped up. Do you guys have an exact time stamp as to where this may have happened?
The mid lane fight around the, I can't really remember which minute, but we will probably see it somewhere in the highlights. The mid lane fight where Ku got a 4-man curse of blood is where the game instantly turned around. Because up until that point, ONIC was controlling the entire map. They were winning the game. They were doing everything exactly correct. And now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if that caused them to overthink the subsequent fights, whereas like we can no longer group up. We have to try and split up the fight and just try to ignore the Carmilla because of what happened.
Oh, the Curse of Blood, rather. There it is. Even right outside the Lord pit, they caught him, and Sev got compromised. Sev got taken out, and that sends the rest of ONIC back. So I think that was past the turning point. That was worse.
I feel like it was the area where Arena was actually on that back line, taking down Livy and then Pooh, if I'm not wrong. But this was, I mean, we're not giving enough props to Arena, especially on the CC. Really sort of like this shadow member. You don't really see her, but then when you do, she is super, super impactful, and that turned the tides of battle.
Oh, she is on you when she does decide to get on you. And I think that was something that really hindered ONIC from getting into better positions, because they're a very position-centric lineup, and the Fanny is the one that kind of punishes your opponent when you get out of said formation, when you, how do you say, respond the wrong way to how they attack you. So now going into game number 3, we know that the Fanny is a threat, but it's not a threat without responses. Terra Queens, the self-proclaimed dark horses of the tournament, are 1 game away from eliminating one of the powerhouses of the tournament. It's already happened. Now VPH has already fallen. What more? 1 elimination to turn the tides.
Will we be witnessing the dethroning of the previous era here is a massive question to ask, and yet we have already received one of the answers, something that none of us would have ever predicted. Even hearing it from you now, I still can't believe that it happened.
It's real.
So that means that ONIC needs to watch their backs. They are the favorites going into this fight, but Terror Queens have already taken 1 game off of Na'Vi in the past as well, so not a team to be underestimated.
Mind you, the Burmese have a legacy of excellence, being the only other country besides Indonesia to share the grand finals spot alongside the Philippines in the M Series. So now they stand at the precipice of greatness, ready to prove themselves limitless here in the first round, the quarterfinals of the knockout stage of MWI 2025. ONIC Pertiwi on the play. Terra Queens answering back with the double. It's Churros and Sdafa taking care of business.
One thing is for sure, sir. We are getting a massive start to the quarterfinals. I was not expecting the impact of the games to be so clear so quickly, but these teams have shown us they are here to fight.
Yeah. Pretty much game number 3, very different start to the banning phase. We won't see, Joy won't see the light of day. Baxia won't either. That's a 3-game ban for Baxia. Here, ONIC though, what would they fear? Now they're in the first pick spot. This is where typically teams will pick up the Uranas, the Badangs, the Kaleas, and for Terror Queens, I think more likely they just want the mid lane duo, especially for Ku and Luna Lin, to get something that they're more comfortable in. We saw a really different approach in the previous game with the Zask and the Carmilla. Right now, They have something up their pockets. What better time than now when it's a single elimination game, top 4 spot in question.
I mean, Zask is a surprisingly effective pick in the hands of Terror Queens because we already know this is a team that generally abandons their mid and goal to fend for themselves. So a hero that basically acts as a built-in Winter Crown is going to work out a lot of the time. And Luna Lin on that Zask bought a lot of space, exactly like Leo mentioned previously. I wouldn't be surprised if we got to see it again. And it is up to ONIC to decide if they want to switch things up. Up until now, they've been sticking to the Farsight Gatot opening.
Nope, no more Farsight Gatot opening now. As Gatot gets banned out by the side of ONIC, Terror Queens will solidify that last phase of the first phase ban. Last ban of the first phase. That typically is the Uranus spot, but I don't think any of the first 2 games Uranus was even in question. ONIC might spice things up a little bit with that first Uranus pick on the blue side. But there's a lot of options. Farsa definitely is one of the biggest value makers, but it will be the Badang wide and open, denying it from the hands of Ku.
Keeping it a little bit more universal, I think we're not really going to get to see Uranus for this series. If ONIC were to first pick it here, they would already be picking it into a counter because up until now, Langrina has only been playing CC. Terror Queens have specifically been prioritizing winning out that EXP lane, and it's understandable why they would do so since they do want dive heroes that are able to affect them mid-game. But we see a big shift right here. The Hilda shows up with the Yi Sun Shin.
Interesting priority. I think vision play is just really what they want. It worked out well in the first game today against Virtus Pro, and now they're trying to go again. And ONIC will snap pick the Suyo up on the second phase pick. And I think this kind of works out well, especially ONIC, who likes to play a very aggressive early game. The only issue is they really fall off in the mid to late stage of the game. We've seen that in game number 2.
Ooh.
And the CC actually goes in the hands, finally, of ONIC, which is now one of the more priority EXP laners. If you pick up the Uranus here, you pick up the Yuzhong, it doesn't really matter because CC would be able to match that tempo and speed.
It's specifically to steal it away from Langrina as well, since that's just been a early pick fallback for the Terror Queens throughout games 1 and 2. Zhu Xin going to be the final pick on the red side for Terror Queens in the first phase. This is a hero that we thought didn't work too well for them in game number 1. Looks like they want to give it another try, and it'll instantly ban out the Farsa as well.
No more Farsa. Kimi's still viable. I think that both these 2 teams should try to contest for Sakoshi and Yippie's heroes. Moskov looked pretty good as well. We also could see something like the Granger, but there's too much that, yeah, the Granger's already banned out from ONIC, so you don't want to deal with that anymore. I think the Irithel could still be a possible option for either of these 2 gold laners too.
Iritel's pretty safe. We've seen the Harif before in the past. It was actually banned out in game number 1, so now that it's still open, could be a possibility. Do Terror Queens want to continue banning out mid laners? Under the current meta, the mid lane hero pool is actually among the smallest. And since they've already locked in their own pick, it's a possibility.
There are a lot of options. And I think for Terror Queens, the only thing they lack in the first 2 games is late game insurance and late game cross-map plays where you want someone to deal with the side lanes. Typically with the Hilda, they kind of achieve that, but then you lose that form of like backline disruptor, and Terror Queens is a kind of team that likes to split up all of these team fights. Without the CC in their hands, this might be looking really tough for Terror Queens to try to disrupt.
There are definitely still EXP lane possibilities. Terror Queens will ban the Irritel instead, which does make sense now that the Granger is already gone. Irritel is one of the better goal laners still open in the draft. I do agree with you that Moskov is probably the next best thing, depending on whether these teams would rather pull out a Carry or Beatrix instead.
Yeah,
is it worth banning
the Harif?
Moskov? No. Okay, they banned the Harif.
Then at the Harris, we haven't seen Bruno yet. I think Moskov would be the next best choice. At least you have some form of escapability. It takes some time to come online. 1-1 wouldn't mean the question. It's too hard to pop your weakness points because you don't have that heavy front line that you would wish to have. Now, what's left? 1-1 is picked up. Personally, I don't like this pick, but I see where they're coming from. Play the safe game, play the long game. Try to hit that 10-12 minute mark and then try to get Sakoshi online.
But there really aren't a lot of good targets for 1-1.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, Bodang is kind of good because it's committal, and then you pop your weakness points easy. But then CC can just jump away. Suyo just dashes out. There's not a lot unless there is a final pocket pick in the hands of Terra Queens.
Yeah, that final pick needs to be a setup hero for 1-1, because otherwise Terra Queens have no way of locking someone down long enough to get the crossbow.
Were they the ones that picked up the Baloric? No, they actually go for the Claude and the Zask. It's a debut pick for Claude in the MWI, I think.
Huh. You might be right, actually. And that's a big surprise because Claude used to be the universal fallback.
The one.
Claude was that goal laner that would never go. Wow, Khalid Hilda.
So 2 aggressive fighters on the side of Terra Queens, inflicting fear into the hearts of the Porcupines.
Khalid, Hilda, Yisun Shin make a lot of sense for the way that Terra Queens wants to play the game, and 1-1 actually does take care of herself pretty well, but Zusin is still kind of a weird pick in this particular position, since it doesn't offer quite enough direct crowd control or damage over time. ONIC, they have taken a little bit of a page out of the Terra Queen's book. Livy going to be able to take a little bit better care of herself now on that Zask, but it's still a weird comp.
I wouldn't say it's weird. I would say it is fresh. It's new. It's something that both these two teams haven't encountered before in maybe their practice, their scrims, but they've definitely done research before. But this is it. No changes now. The final game. ONIC Prithvi up against the Terra Queens. Whoever wins goes up with the 4th place. Will Terra Queens be able to rewrite the script and take out ONIC, or will ONIC remain on the throne?
We have already witnessed history being rewritten once today. Will Terra Queens be the second author of this brand and new epic? ONIC going to be the ones to try and put a stop to that. Looking at the emblems on both sides, nothing too out of the ordinary overall. I think, yes, we are seeing the double concussive blast as well coming in from Terra Queens. It is a flicker on the Khalid, so not going for more defensive options since playing Rina is the one playing it in the EXP lane.
You got a lot of zonal potential using the Nightmaric spawn just to get additional reach over onto Luna Lin, taking a lot of damage so far. I like how aggressive Terra Queens is, and Ku has really adjusted the way that her aggression works. It's not aggressive without reason. She's aggressive and giving intelligence. See, she's on reconnaissance duty. And she sees 4 members. Now she knows she needs to back out. Terra Queen's very disciplined in this game.
We can see the instant shift from Rui going up into the goal lane instead, but Yippee gonna choose to play it safe. Claude does have a bit of a hard time 1v1ing 1-1 early in the lane. So the goal of the ONIC gold laner is just to make sure that she is able to farm up to get that Trinity and then come online into the mid to late phase.
To be honest, Sadafa, I think we're in for a very long game. 1-1, Claude, very late game heroes, or I would say mid to late. We're seeping into like maybe that 12-minute mark where almost out of full item builds
Thing is, I ordinarily agree, but it's Terra Queens. Just look at the way they play.
Yeah, speaking of which, Ku already trapped between a rock and a hard place. Revitalize will keep her safe. No sprint for her, so she won't be able to get too aggressive. But Helena is on flanking duty, trying to find a wraparound. They see where Helena is. The turtle down to a quarter, down to a half. As Terra Queens trying to ramp this up, waiting for Rui to get in position. Turtle gets a reset.
I think they're gonna take this slow.
Oh no, it's not a lot of reset though. There's a fist crack onto Raging Sandstorm. First blood goes over to Henrina. Rui takes down the turtle. Zap takes down Rui, and Luna Lin pulls everyone back out of the way. Nevalerella takes down and splits up that fight.
Okay. Honestly, I gotta give props at this point. Rui's retry timing is actually ridiculous. It doesn't really matter the situation you're in. This girl finds the objectives. They end up trading 1 for 1. It's actually not so ideal for Terra Queen since they lost their jungler, but it's somewhat balanced out by the fact that they were able to take the turtle. So it ends up being fairly 50-50 for now.
A little bit of a slower game this time around. None of these two teams want to push the situation too far in. And Terra Queens, they are playing as a unit now. The mid lane duo, clearing out that waves, making the rotations to shift the attention away from the EXP side. They want to take down Yippee as much as possible to identify that that is the critical and crucial player. You got a Mountain Shocker ready. Ku is on Poo duty. Ku trapped underneath a wall and will not be able to escape. Another kill over the Terra Queens as the rest of the Goon Squad coming into position. You got the Dominators, the Nightmare Spawn trying to zone out and deal a little bit more information onto the rest of Terra Queens.
So far, so good for the Terra Queens. Definitely making use of this Hilda's presence. Now Valera forced to use Vengeance too.
They're trying to rush this down, but
Zev!
a nice little sever from Zev and taking 2 down. Terra Queens on the back foot, a little bit too greedy there on that T1.
Yeah, they stayed for a bit too long. Again, not really putting enough attention on scouting out the rotation from the mid side. The 2-man Blade Surge from Zev set that up perfectly and melted them down so fast.
Quick little lane swap. Yippee, a Raging Sandstorm already used up by the arena. I think that was supposed to be a cancel though, but I think, oh man, that was a little bit of a tough position. Blazing Duet just to use to clear up that lane. Yippee knows that arena doesn't have that ultimate, so won't be able to join in the team fight just as of yet. The turtle getting pulled back, getting that reset. Ku keeping the rest of ONIC busy because Sakoshi coming down. It's going to be a 5-man fight, but they're going to ditch that turtle for now, keeping control and getting that pressure onto the mid wave.
This first turtle, the second turtle, going to be once again contested. Rui so far has proven that her excellence in being able to secure the retry battles still does have the EXP lead despite conceding a death earlier on. That is the farm speed of the Yisun Shin. Ku gonna be okay, but loses out the Revitalize to the flank from the mid lane. I think Terra Queens does need to mind their angles a little bit better. They should be diving further with a Khalid Hilda.
There's the power of Yisun Shin. Yuri's already level 8, just waiting for the right time to get that. She still
Again!
from underneath the noses off the porcupine. Zev too deep in, but won't be able to secure that Q. Q takes 1 down. Poo falls. Rui as well, but they have the objective on hand. It's a 3-man punish onto Valera, and she will not escape from the lanterns of Lunalin.
It ends up being a pretty good trade for Terra Queens, but it would have been even better if they actually got that last hit on Zev as well. It would have been 1 for 3 trade and the turtle. But because that one does end up being the Yisun Shin, Rui is unfortunately getting the short end of the stick a little bit. Still though, out-farming Zev at this point. Terra Queens are in their comfort zone. Having this Hilda and Khalid allows them to just run their bodies at their opponents in these first few stages. Looking at the itemization right now, there is a Sky Piercer on the side of Lunalin, and it looks like Rui might be building one too. Yeah, Rui gonna complete a Sky Piercer. Sakoshi also going for a more utility 1-1 build with the Wind Talker and Rose Gold, with a focus on survivability in the early game.
Interesting. Usually you just have that corrosive scythe, but here comes the rest of Terra Queens trying to block out the advances from Valera, trying to give some space over to the back line. You got a fist crack onto Ku. She will not escape the clutches of Sakoshi. Sakoshi takes down Poo. You got the rest of the Terra Queens trying to gun them down. Just trying to split that fight. Yippee goes down. Rui takes 1 out as well. 2 members fall to the side of ONIC as Terra Queens, they're coming back on top again. 3,500 goal lead.
That is a very effective engagement taken from Terra Queens right now. You can see that this lineup was drafted with a particular purpose. And if we look at the highlights once again, they are causing havoc. Ku got picked off very early on, but you can see that ONIC may have committed too many resources. And a really nice jump in the backline with the Flicker Raging Sandstorm from Fling Rina instantly stopped their engagement and forced them back, leaving Yippee in the lurch.
Where does the damage come from? This is still pretty much in the... They're seeping into the mid game, but when they get trapped, speaking of which, Sakoshi trapped into 4. We got a Crossbow Tang, she's surrounded, buying some time for the Terror Queens to come in. Sakoshi is still up safe. They're pushing it in underneath the turret. They're keeping it disciplined. Arena back on duty, but the mid lane is in shambles. Rue's taking care of that one.
Poe definitely jumped the gun there. It was a good catch with the flicker fist break, but your team is not close enough to whittle down the 1-1. And remember, this is a hero that has a built-in Purify. So once Sakoshi jumps out of that, picks up the crossbow of tank stacks, then your team isn't going to be able to do anything. It needed to be a tighter formation. It was not worth it for the Badang to try and force that situation.
What was the turning point? What was the turning point where ONIC was kind of head-to-head with Terror Queens, but right now Terror Queens are standing on top of a mountain with 4,500 gold.
It was around the second turtle, maybe a little bit before the second turtle, because the first one was fairly 50-50. Rui has been very effective in stealing
She's level
objectives.
13.
3 level difference between the junglers. I mean, that's already a clear sign. And Rui was the first death.
Arena with the Raging Sandstorm. Vengeance already popped. Crucial resources gone from ONIC. Terror Queens taking control of all of the jungles. No more T1s. You're dealing with that T2 down the bot side. Fistcrack try to push everyone away. You get a Mountain Shocker and a lot of damage from Rui. You're taking out one every round of falls. As Terror Queens are inflicting fear onto the hearts of Porcupine once again.
The beautiful Mountain Shocker from Rui. This Yisan Shin. A pick that ONIC just kind of forgot about here. Such a good way for them to engage. Catching out 2 squishies. Chasing ONIC back. Cutting off their escape. Terror Queens are playing this perfectly. This is the definition of controlled chaos. And the gold lead is just slowly building up more and more. ONIC, their chance of jumping back into this game is slimming.
There's one more hit.
Oh!
All the way in. The arrow strikes her heart and takes her down. Zav is nowhere to be found. The Lord comes up. Terror Queens making a beeline for it. They will blitz this down.
A Sky Piercer first item. We thought it was going to be greedy coming in from Rui, but it is working out. There's a 2k difference between her and Zev. And that is from the first blood being given over. This Lord is now free. Terror Queens in full control of the map. And normally when you go Hilda Khalid, you are risking a potential outscaling in the mid-game, but their success so far has bought them so much more time. It's going to take ages for ONIC to actually reach the point where they can actually outscale these very oppressive divers.
In the early game, Yippee was playing aggressively against the 1-1. Always in her face, always using those shots and taking those damage down, but now Sakoshi's eating all of that up because she has the healing potential from the Has Claws, from the lifesteal effect. Look in the bot side, Zev taking a ton of damage, and Terror Queens are keeping them busy. You got a pepper spray from Luna Lin, trying to zone everyone out of the way. Sakoshi's damage is starting to show. Rui's damage is also starting to hurt. You get a lower margin down on the mid side. Ku taking a lot of damage. There's a fist crack onto one. Ku will fall. Yippee will take that down. Rui takes down another one. It's a double kill for Rui. The Yisun Shin is on a triple. They're looking for the drone. Rui gets out safe. It's not for yet. ONIC still has that defense, but it's a 2-on-4. They have another way pushing in.
Are they about to do it right now? The crystal is open. They have the numbers advantage.
Again, Terror Queens rewrites the script. 4th place guaranteed for the Burmese Queens.
If they weren't the dark horses before, they surely are now.